Hey guys, thanks for joining us at this IBM Ask the Expert session. I'll just walk you through a few housekeeping rules before we get going. So first of all, just use the chat to ask some questions. Questions will appear and we'll approve those. Vote for your favourite questions to get them moved up to the top. And we'll have all of our experts answering those questions verbally, and we'll take it from there. So the session's going to be recorded. So yeah, help our moderators don't spam or post inappropriate comments in the chat. And make sure you adhere to the Microsoft Code of Conduct. This is the Code of Conduct. If you break this, I've got a special set of skills. So that's all I'm saying. So we're covering a few different industries here today. We've got the automotive industry, distribution, retail industry, and public sector. So get your thinking caps on, guys. So first and foremost, let's meet the experts. First of all, I'd like to invite James Young to introduce himself.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to people. My name's James. I've been with IBM about 20 years. My entire career has been focused on customer relationship management platforms. I've spent the last 6 years building our Microsoft public sector practice, and just recently in the last year, I've moved over to run our health and human services practice across all the public markets.
Thanks, James. So I'm Martin Peel, and I lead the Microsoft Centre of Competence across EMEA at IBM. I've worked in the D365 CE space since version 1.2, all of 17 years ago. Most recently, I've been working in the automotive space, assisting OEMs with their digital transformations. In my COC team, we create repeatable templates to accelerate the transformation process. So one of which is our D365 solution for automotive, which I'm responsible for. Sushant, if you want to introduce yourself next, please.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sushant Wariku. I'm an IBM partner responsible for our retail industry services business across the US Pacific Northwest region. I've been with IBM for over 5 years now and have experienced really the convergence of various industries: retail, communications, technology, entertainment. And I look forward to discussing more on how the Microsoft platform could help our clients in the consumer and retail industry be successful. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sushant. Eamon, if you'd like to introduce yourself next.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So, Eamon Moriarty. I'm an associate partner in IBM Services based over in the UK, and I am aligned to the public sector, but similar to James, I'm also on the extended leadership team for our healthcare life sciences division within public sector. I am a delivery-focused individual, so I'm principally involved in delivering large-scale transformative programs, primarily using the Microsoft suite of Azure products. So everything from IaaS up the stack across through the data analytics pieces. I'm looking forward to seeing some questions come in very shortly. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Eamon. Thibaut, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, good afternoon from France. So I'm associate partner serving the distribution and CPG sector since more than 13 years now. I'm as well the Microsoft practice lead in France. Having a focus on the food industry, consulting background for international clients. I'm delivering transformation project, modernizing the client landscape on the cloud and supporting the move from a traditional B2B business to a new D2C model. I'm as well having a good exposure with OMS, order management systems. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Thibaut. And we've got last but by no means least, we've got Louis Gallardo. Do you want to introduce yourself, Louis? You're on mute, I think, by the look of it.
There we go. Appreciate that. A little bit of technical challenges on my end, and but last but not least, as Martin said, so thanks. I'm ecstatic to be here today. My name is Louis Gallardo. I'm the Microsoft Consulting Services Leader globally for IBM. and been in consulting about 25 years in a variety of roles, and in particular focused on financial transformation, supply chain, and sales and operations planning. My industry background goes broad because of my finance background, so it cuts across consumer industries, retail, government, manufacturing, across the board, media and entertainment, going on and on. But I'm happy to be here today with this group of panelists and industry experts, and look forward to having a lively dialogue and get tons of questions here, and hopefully help you out with your Microsoft investment.
Nice one, thanks, Louis. So let's get right into it, and I think we'll start with James Young first of all. So James, what are the top industry trends from your perspective in public sector?
Well, I mean, I think there's quite a few. If I start with the one that's the biggest right now, it's obviously anything that's dealing with return to work and vaccinations. Obviously, around the pandemic, that has really upended the entire industry this year, changing the way we go to market, changing how deals are worked, and specifically within the United States, each state and county has their own initiative, since we don't have a federally mandated one, which means that there is just a lot of diversity in terms of how people are responding to it. So we're seeing everything from using Dynamics and other CRM tools to do contact tracing, to seeing Power Apps used for return to work and return to school. So there's a lot there, I think, in terms of how people are using technology to streamline processes. The biggest challenge with that is just that our understanding of what's being done and how we're responding to it are changing daily. If we step back from the immediate issues and challenges that our clients are facing and look at a longer term, I think there's still a big move on going from monolithic systems to modular systems. So if we look at the primary health and human services applications, eligibility, SNAP, TANF, substance abuse, child welfare, traditionally states have spent $50 to $200 million to implement these giant monolithic systems that they're locked into for a decade plus to reap their return on investment. The federal government co-funds those systems and sets a set of guidelines and practices that must be followed. And one of those that they've put into the new guidelines is that those systems have to be modular. Tools like Dynamics 365 and Power Apps make that very simple, because you can build an individual module, use Azure Enterprise Service Bus and Logic apps to connect it into the legacy system and modernize them module by module, giving a lot of time for the ability to see what's working, what's not working. And then if a module decides you need to move it to a different platform, it's modular. You can say, okay, I just want intake moved over. I just want investigation moved over. I just want fraud and abuse moved over. You can do that. Whereas with the monolithic systems, they weren't able to do that. They were locked in. I'd say those are that gives you both a short term, what are we seeing right now with the emergency procurements, and a long term, what we see with health and human services as a whole.
Nice one. Yeah, thanks for that, James. Fascinating stuff. So I think let's switch it up now, and let's go from public sector to retail. So Shashank, I think the similar question really. What are the top industry trends from your perspective that you're seeing in the retail industry?
Thank you, Martin. The retail economy has definitely bounced back more strongly than most, including myself, expected. Although the momentum appears to be tapering off a little bit in August. We do expect, discretionary spending to be a little reduced through 2021, given the pandemic. But one thing is very clear: the impact of the pandemic is here to stay. It has led to change in behavior across consumers and across enterprises, which is not a temporary change. We are seeing sales still being bifurcated between essential and non-essential retailers, of course. Essential led by e-commerce, a huge surge in e-commerce, where foot traffic in the stores continues to be slow in the wake of the pandemic, which is still, we're still not out of the woods yet. We, as James mentioned, the way we work and how we collaborate with everybody is completely changing. It is no longer okay to just focus on digital transformation with our customers. Enterprises have to reinvent how they operate their business functions inside out using digital technologies and experiential technologies. And that's where the Microsoft tech stack with its resiliency and with its ability to accelerate that transformation comes into play. So very important, that's a very important point that James made, which is enterprises have to completely reinvent and very quickly reinvent how they do business, how their employees work with each other. The consumer attitudes have shifted rapidly, right? There's an increased focus on personal and family safety, on health, wellness, and well-being, and people are already decluttering, if you may, rebalancing their wants and needs. What that has led to is digital-led customer engagement has become the new norm. As spending is splintered across more stores as you buy online, to win the customer's share of wallet, you have to make sure that your product or service is completely differentiated or essential. Your experience needs to be delightful for the customer. And the 2020 digital shopping season is going to be a true digital-first shopping season in November and December. We are expecting growth by about 35% in those months on online shopping, but it will be primarily a digital shopping season. Finally, fulfillment is going to be extremely important for retail. Whoever gets your product faster to your door takes your money, and we will continue to see what I call as corporate Darwinism in the industry, where the wise who are not only optimizing their costs but also investing in their growth will continue to prosper, but the weak will get acquired or eliminated. That's kind of the overall trends that we're seeing in the marketplace. Again, velocity, flexibility, and resiliency are the key things for any enterprise in the industry today. And I believe we'll talk about that. The Microsoft tech stack is well positioned to really help them across those dimensions.
Yeah, great, Sushant, and definitely interesting insights there. And I do want to hear a little bit more from Thibault on the technology side, but we did get a question from the Q&A, and maybe James, I can toss it over to you to start. It says, does IBM have a packaged offering on the return to work piece that is by industry? And if yes, has it gone live anywhere?
So we do have a mobile app that has been set up. It's called IBM Community Health that supports return to work and return to school. The only place it's live so far is Sonoma County, and we're taking it live for Fort Bend, Texas schools. The app is really a health check type of feature. So you log in the morning, you list if you have symptoms. It can record whether you've been tested and what your results are so that information can be shared up. It's got a few other features in there, but to be honest, the characteristics, the things that are going to need to be tracked are evolving. And I think that's one of the reasons that our mobile app has done really well with that, is that it's enabled us to quickly roll out new questions and new information that needs to be collected around the symptoms, diagnosis codes, and just preventative measures around who you've had contact with. We're not currently tracking or syncing with the other people you're around. That's manual, but I think we'll see that the expectations of the information that gets shared is going to evolve as the virus evolves. Right now, people are still very sensitive about collecting automatically who you're around in your office or school. And we'll continue to monitor that for public opinion. Excellent.
Hopefully that answered the question, but maybe Thibault, we can spin to you in France, either anything around return to work, and if not, maybe you can just kind of expand on Sushant's comments relative to Microsoft and in the European region.
Yeah. I will elaborate on what Sushant said. Sushant mentioned something which is very important. It's the increase of the e-commerce. definitely retailers and distribution clients needs to be omni-channel. They need to be omni-channel, but they need to be consistent across the channels. So not only with e-commerce, but also with the call center, marketplace, physical stores. It's very important. What the clients are expected, it's to be consistent across the channels. And this is really where Microsoft can help the clients with the Dynamics 365 associated with Power Platform or Power BI. Dynamics 365 is kind of umbrella, offering the flexibility to choose a specific application to cover all operations. So traditionally finance, supply, marketing, HR, as well as other applications like commerce or sales. And this is where it's interesting. This is specific application, but ensuring the integrity, the data consistency across the different modules, what we can call modules. So you are having specific application, so fitted, which are fitting with the client requirements, but within a same and a global platform. And this is, I think, where Microsoft is very interesting. It's to create business platform, not only an application, but creating a global platform, end-to-end platform for sure, from the users doing the operations to the final customers. And the differentiators Microsoft is adding, there is a lot of, but we can highlight all the things which are related to the productivity, the intelligent workflows, the artificial intelligence for sure, helping the users to reduce the workload and to focus on what Sushant mentioned. It's the user experience. To focus on where the value is, and the value is not to perform operations. The value is the brand, is the value we are bringing to the users. So Dynamics 365 on the cloud is really an enabler for the omni-channel strategy for our distribution and retailers.
Excellent. Appreciate that insight. I don't see any more questions, so maybe, but Iman, do you want to elaborate on anything from a public sector standpoint in the European region?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, certainly from a UK perspective, we have, in this new normal, been effectively on a degree of lockdown over the last 6 months. So the level of working from home has obviously gone through the roof, and that was seen across the public sector, where previously it wasn't envisaged that many of those personnel could work from home. So what we're seeing in this is a increase in the number of, should we say, shadow IT implementations or homespun applications that are suddenly appearing. And now 6 months into this, there's a realization that some of these applications are now supporting critical services because they've been spun up from people being at home. And where we're seeing the appetite go is into the sort of power app space, to move away from the homespun ones, like Access or an Excel macro, into something that can be more cloud native, that can be more secure, because obviously security from the public sector is absolutely crucial. And we're seeing that drift towards that, along with the other transformative elements about being, more flexible, more scalable in light of COVID responses.
Definitely good stuff. I think maybe just to pivot a little bit here, maybe some more questions. James, maybe back to you. I know you talked about some Microsoft solutions, but can you elaborate on the key Microsoft solutions you see clients investing in your industry, and how they may be leveraging them, and even further, how is IBM helping them with that?
So the two that are coming to mind most is Azure Infrastructure as a Service has become one of the biggest, just moving a lot of workload into Azure. And then because of that, we're able to leverage Azure services for a lot of the integration work. So we have a platform called Connect 360 that is, in essence, a data fabric pre-configured to connect into all of the major health and human service systems within state and local government. We've stood that up on Azure for Orange County, California, which is larger than most states. I think their population is around 8 or 10 million within that county alone. So by leveraging Azure to do that, we're then being able to say, okay, now we can use Power Apps to do other services and just expand from there because of the way it's all integrated. The other that I've seen most recently is Teams. Has not traditionally been an area that we have focused in, but because people are working virtually, more and more, the social collaboration and how to work remotely and still collaborate has become very important. So for instance, right now in Rhode Island, we're helping with their contact tracing and investigation process, and they're using Teams. So we're defining the business processes by which people will collaborate using Teams. Those have been the two biggest. My expectation is that we'll see Power Apps really start to grow more and more in state and local government. And that's probably going to go towards, I hate to use the term microservices, but very pinpoint solutions where you just need something very simple and you don't want to pay for an entire platform. And I think Power Apps is going to provide that, just hand over hand for state and local government.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're seeing an explosion of Power Apps out there, and I think it's definitely across the board in all industries. With that, we are getting another Q&A question, and maybe this will be a good time for you, Martin. They're asking, how are auto companies leveraging Microsoft Business Apps?
Yeah, thanks, Louis. So, I mean, I'd say over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen quite a significant uptake in the automotive space, and this has really come around a few main areas. I mean, the technology that's been the demand has been around has been Dynamics 365 CE, but the real true areas of that have been around connected sales and marketing journeys, and also customer service. The interesting piece around those, which implementing customer service or automating customer journeys doesn't sound crazy, but when you factor in the scale that automotive companies have been getting these solutions in play, it becomes quite a significant change. So if you look at a couple of our main clients who have not just implemented these tools, in a single country, but have rolled out across the European landscape. So we've seen that significantly rising. I think more recently, we're also seeing a lot more demand, specifically around Power Apps, and in COVID times as well. We've seen a bit of a surge in demand around modernising the commerce front end, which I think was driven by that initial closure of dealerships under lockdown.
Great. Hopefully that answered the question. And kind of pivoting back, Sushant, maybe the same question that we had for James to you. I know you're been seeing quite an uptick of Microsoft technology interest. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing and hearing, and what clients are investing in your space.
Thank you, Louis. Well, as I said, the challenge right now is to make sure that as customers are interacting and engaging more digitally, you are able to offer the right products and services to that customer at that point in time, and fulfill it in time as well. And which requires that your physical and digital experiences, both in the store as well as online, are seamless. In fact, the entire customer experience across the life cycle is seamless. Now, in order to do that, your underlying platform and technology, your applications, your infrastructure has to really connect in a seamless manner too. What the Microsoft tech stack does well is by design, the architecture is more coherent, it's more clear, it's more open and connected across the business applications and the underlying infrastructure and platform that Azure provides. Which is an awesome thing to have for our customers, because it just accelerates their ability to digitally reinvent their solutions or their products or their services for their end customers, because they do not have to worry about the integration endpoints. And of course, you got to do this across the cloud and across the edge. And that's another area where I think Microsoft has really focused on building its power apps and building its underlying infrastructure in a way that it all seamlessly connects together. And I'm seeing that sentiment in our customers, where they're using the productivity applications, they're using Azure as the base platform in the cloud, and they feel that's driving that velocity for them that they need in their business. I hope that helps.
Okay. Maybe pivoting back to our European colleagues in terms of IBM's approach and industry specific areas. Maybe Iman, you can start. Give us a sense of IBM's approach to Microsoft solution strategy, implementation and adoption to drive real business transformation.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Louis. I mean, from my perspective in central government, I'll start with. I've never seen greater levels of collaboration between our organizations, and in terms of jointly coming up with propositions that meet our citizens' needs, and in trying to understand the differentiators. And that involves principally, Microsoft bringing their extensive experience from the Azure platforms, the capabilities of that, adding on the enhanced data and analytics capabilities that are now, coming through, with the recent, re-release of Azure Synapse. If you combine that with the systems integration experience, the change management experience, and now talent transformation experience that IBM can bring to it, it's a very compelling package. And what we've realized in our collaborations is that it's not one party going to the other asking for help. It's both parties effectively co-creating solutions, and that has become a compelling proposition, and it's gaining significant traction with our central government and our healthcare life science clients.
Got it. No, very interesting. Thibault, what about from you, from the consumer industry standpoint?
I definitely agree with what you said, Iman. And this is what we said with our client as well in France. We are no more just implementing or delivering services. We are co-designing, we are co-creating, we are co-operating the things. We are, and this is really where the changes compared to last year's. We are not just implementing, we are building together, we are building business platforms and not only application. And again, I have an example from a very recent one from distribution to elaborate on what James Young said around Azure. So this is for leader in the pet food. They are distributed in some physical stores which were closed during the pandemic, so they needed to change their mind in a very short term. In less than 2 weeks, we managed to open a web shop through Azure, available for the final customers. And this is really where we can see the interest of the Azure possibilities and the connection and with the other components. So just a simple example to highlight the power and the fact that the clients are really moving to Azure.
Great. Now, real quick, Martin, I'm going to switch to you here. We did get another question. Have you seen business apps replacing or enhancing traditional Lean Six Sigma tools and tests? Maybe you can talk about that more broadly from your perspective.
Sorry, was that one for me, Louis?
Yeah, I think if you could take that one more broadly, that'd be good.
Yeah, so from a Six Sigma perspective, I mean, I don't know if we've seen business apps replacing or enhancing that, but the real area that I sort of take that to is really around the IBM Garage method, and we're seeing a lot more uptake internally, and we're taking this to market from a Microsoft perspective as well. I think we're seeing customers of all sizes benefiting from this methodology. combining things like enterprise design thinking, agile, DevOps, and digital change to deliver that impact at scale. And of course, from this perspective, we've been successfully delivering this remotely since lockdown. I mean, coming back to that, we've commissioned a report through Forrester who found that the methodology itself reduced design time by 75%, dev time by 33%, and it was twice as fast to market. So, and a good thing from a Microsoft perspective is our accelerators drop right into this Garage process, providing this like a toolkit and a foundation to really speed things up even more.
Yeah, great. Excellent insight, and thank you for the question out there. Hopefully that helped. In general, for those that did ask questions, feel free to drop a line in there or visit our IBM partner page. We'd love to connect with you and answer more questions and even get a follow-up meeting if we can. So with that, though, I think if we've got a little bit more time here or how we continue on.
So Louis, while we're waiting for some other questions to come in, why don't we turn around and ask you a question from a global perspective? What are you seeing globally that kind of connects Microsoft technology across the different geos? What would you say has been the #1 thing you're seeing?
Yeah, I think when I look at right now, clients' biggest focus, it is clearly a couple things. One is this movement to cloud. I think just in general, that is transcending everything, industry, region, geography, and I think that we're going to continue to see that as clients move into this chapter 2 phase that we talk about at IBM, and really start to see companies move their heavier, thicker, more complex applications to the cloud. And that's going to come in a variety of ways. And looking at that from a Microsoft technology standpoint, that can be, custom applications to Azure, that could be, upgrading to D365, that could be, shifting workloads to some completely different solutions and using Power Apps as a way to make that move. So I think that that is by far the biggest tidal wave of a change that I see across the globe, and I think we as IBM, as well as our partnership with Microsoft, are in the best position of anybody to help at that intersection of technology and industry, and be able to capitalize on those investments and wring out the most return on them, so that it's really based on business benefit and not just a fad or following the wave that everybody else is on, but truly doing it in a correct way to maximize business benefit.
And I think just to add to that, Louis, from a kind of UK public sector perspective, we are increasingly seeing large government departments insisting on a cloud-first approach rather than a traditional DC approach. And that's not just limited to enabling applications or back office applications. We're talking about elements of critical national infrastructure or business critical workloads being moved to the public cloud and managed effectively in the public cloud at scale. So it's incredibly exciting times, certainly for European context in the public sector and the partnership we have with Azure and with Microsoft in general.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a best practice. Those companies that are innovating and rethinking how they operate and how they do business, how they interact with their clients, clearly are leaders in their space and stand out. Not to say that there isn't a lot of hard work and there isn't a lot of things to do relative to the overall move to cloud, but that those that are standing out are truly innovating, using this as an innovative point in time. So with that, maybe you got a little bit of go ahead.
I think time's up. I've been told, Louis. I think we could probably go on for a little bit longer, but yeah, I think our slot's over.
All right. Well, I wasn't quite sure if they would just cut us off, or as we can continue to talk. So I will just say, on behalf of IBM, thank you for taking the time to submit your questions and listen to us here. And hopefully listen to the recording as this moves forward and continues on at Ignite. And thank you to our panelists. Really appreciate it. And for those of you that may have follow-up questions with them, feel free to reach out. Obviously, LinkedIn, or as I mentioned, our IBM partner page has some contact information to be able to connect with us. Thank you. Very appropriate timing there. So there is definitely some call to action, and please connect with us. We'd love nothing more to talk further with you. And specifically, we were hitting business applications today, where we have a value assessment that we utilize and offer. So please connect with us, and we'd love to talk more. Thank you,
everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.